Hello, and welcome to the MMA Mic Drop Podcast. My name is Jade Bunky, and I'm joined by the one and only MMA Milo, who is not only an emerging MMA analyst, but also one of the nation's top up-and-coming amateur surfers. In today's episode, we are going to talk about the aftermath of UFC 317. What an incredible fight card it was. And let's start at the top. Let's start with Ilia Topuria. He finished Charles Oliveira in the first round. And this is coming off finishes of Max Holloway and Volkanovski. What he is doing is unprecedented. He is now a title holder at two different weight classes. He is still undefeated. He's probably had the most impressive 3-fight win streak in UFC history. And so, Milo, let me ask you this. A few months ago, we created a video in which we said he was the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. But I have a bit different question. Is he the best fighter in UFC history?
I'd say one more finish in there. I think there's no doubt, but no, I don't think so.
Who would you rank ahead of him so far?
Maybe like Khabib and Jon Jones.
See, when I look at Khabib, he was undefeated. He still in his record, it wasn't only towards the end that it became impressive, right? He had, that his last 3 fights were impressive. He came off finishes. It was Justin Gaethje. Before that, it was Dustin Poirier, and before that, it was Conor McGregor, right? So, I mean, huge wins, all finishes. He still wasn't as dominant as Topuria was in this stretch. And when I look at Khabib, I believe he had 20 finishes. Topuria, he's 17-0 with 15 finishes. The only 2 decisions, one was against Josh Emmett, where he absolutely destroyed him for 5 rounds. And the other one was his first fight in the UFC against Youssef Zalal. I think he's better than Khabib. I think he's a fundamentally, a completely different level above Khabib. I think, you look at Jon Jones, it's hard. Jon Jones never did what Topuria did, finish 3 all-time greats in a row. I'm putting him against him. The only other person, I guess you can, think about GSP. You have Anderson Silva, who went on the most dominant, run ever when he went, 16-0, in his first 16 fights in the UFC, where he was a step above everybody else. But I think you can make the argument, whether you think Ilia Topuria is the best fighter of all time or not. Sure, that's debatable, but I think he's definitely in the conversation. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree that he's in the conversation for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Khabib's more dominant though, just because he had more 10-8 rounds, and I don't know. He just after this, I don't even know. It was crazy how he's smoking everybody.
Well, that's the thing. You can't have 10-8 rounds when you knock somebody out, right?
Yeah.
Topuria is just he's not even allowing an opportunity.
That's true, yeah.
Khabib's his legacy's incredible, right? He's an undefeated fighter with, what was it, 29 fights, 28, 29 fights.
Yeah.
He finished some of the biggest names. His title run was not that long in terms of, dominant guys. And yes, he was dominant for sure. But what I'm seeing something different from Topuria that I've never seen before. He's not just finishing guys. He's folding these guys with one punch. This fight, against Charles Oliveira was crazy. Tell me about that. What was going through your mind when you were watching that?
I saw right away when they went to the ground, I saw Charles' face already opened up just in the first exchange. It was sad. How much better he is than everybody. It's not even close. He had Charles in a crucifix at the very start of the fight, where Charles was at the strong point and he was on top. I don't know, he was the grappling exchange happened. It was, I don't know. He was dominated, which was crazy.
Yeah, he's such a different type of athlete. And it was hard to see. I'm wondering if it was a headbutt because I didn't see the punch. I'm wondering if it was a headbutt that opened him up. But yeah, I saw Oliveira bleeding, and the thing that was crazy is just Topuria never loads up on his shots, right? They're really short hooks, and the power is incredible. Think about, he is the first person to knock out Max Holloway. Look at what he did to Volkanovski, and now Oliveira back to back to back. Like this is, and he's doing this against all-time greats, absolute legends of the sport. And he just hits so hard. It's like he just touches, once he gets that clean shot, it's over. And he did that. He had a quick, I think it was a right and then a quick left follow up. What do you? It looks like Paddy Pimblett is next. Do you agree with that?
I mean, I'd rather him fight Islam. I don't even care about Paddy. I mean, I feel like Oliveira's better everywhere than Paddy, and you just saw what happened. So
Yeah, this
I'm
is a
a
bad
yeah,
matchup for Paddy Pimblett. I mean, yeah, exactly, because he's not going to have the stand up, that's needed to be able to hang with Topuria. I mean, he's got some great grappling, but we saw Paddy Pimblett get pieced up. I mean, in fights that he's won, he's always been hit because he keeps his chin really high up in the air, and that's gonna spell disaster with against somebody like Topuria. So yeah, I think that's a tough matchup. Um, yeah, I mean it's crazy. I think Sarukian would probably be the matchup that made the most sense. Would probably give Topuria the biggest challenge, but still, I would have a problem seeing somebody beat Topuria.
yeah, I
Um,
agree.
so you want to see him with Islam.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing, and this is going to be crazy. Does Topuria have an opportunity to be the world's first three division champion? Can he go up to 170?
Yeah, I think he has the opportunity. I think after after Islam fights JDM, he should go up and fight Islam.
That's insane. Going up, yeah. I mean, it is, it is kind of crazy because, Topuria does seem like that once in a generation type of athlete that seems to be able to break different types of barriers. I mean, I'd probably want to see him stay at 155 and then, just gain more muscle to, make a natural transition to 170 over a longer period of time. But what he's doing now, I mean, against the best of the best, um, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing him at 170 just to see how far this guy can go. But let's say Islam comes back down, whether win or lose, he comes back down and it takes place at 155. Who are you taking?
Um, I'm gonna go Taporia, honestly.
Taporia, yeah, yeah, because Islam's dominant, but he's not this dominant. That's the thing. And
Yeah.
Taporia has more ways to win. We saw Islam become vulnerable. We've seen Islam lose, right? He lost to Sarukian, a long time ago. We've seen him get, um, you know, um, almost, we've seen him in pretty bad shape against Volkanovski, where a lot of people thought Volkanovski won that first fight, right? Um, what Topuria is doing, it's the level of dominance that is so much different that, yeah, I would favor Topuria too. I
But you
think
know
that would,
what? I think if they go up to welterweight and he beats Islam, I think Shavkat beats Taporia. That's a kind of a hot
mm,
take.
you might be right because Shavkat's so much bigger,
He's
right? And you
way
get to the
bigger.
point where, yeah,
Yeah.
it's that, yeah. I mean, he's even big for welterweight. So I would probably agree with you there. Given that Islam is moving up, yeah, that makes it a little more sense. Who do you think would win, Topuria versus JDM right now?
Oh, Taporia for sure.
And that's what I'm saying. It's crazy to think that that he could maybe be the one guy to become that three division champion. I mean, I know people were talking about Alex Pereira, but I don't see now that Tom Aspinall is a champ. No, nobody's getting past Tom Aspinall.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So yeah, incredible stuff. Before we talk about the co-main event, what would you grade this overall card?
I think it was an F.
Yeah, me too. I loved it. There were so many good fights up and down the card. It was incredibly entertaining. The co-main event, we saw Pantoja choke out Kaikar France, and what I saw here was there was a complete skill gap, a complete talent gap. It looked like a number one ranked fighter fighting a number 30 ranked fighter. It seemed like it was night and day. What were your takeaway? Or what was your
Yeah, he
takeaway?
he looks so much better. Like it wasn't even close to everywhere. Even on the stand up, he was dominating. On the ground, obviously, but yeah, he just looked way better.
Yeah, and that's where people thought they would get, Kai Kara France would at least have, that puncher's chance. He's younger, so he'd probably be a little quicker, but no, Pantoja's still fast. He's still faster. And yeah, that was dominant. And then it looks like Josh Van is next. We're going to talk about that fight in a moment. Who would you favor in that?
Um, I hope Van wins, but I think I favor Pantoja.
Yeah, same here. I think he's just so good everywhere. And Van's only 23.
Yeah,
And I think the striking, he's gonna have a much better showing than Car France in the striking. But
yeah,
when it gets to the ground, I mean, just Pantoja is so good there.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So again, go ahead.
I think if Pantoja like wins two more fights by submission or like finish, I think he's like the he could be the GOAT in his division.
I mean, he's right there, and he's got to be the most underrated champ in the world right now, right? I mean,
Yeah,
he was talking about those pound for pound, and he should be in that top, like maybe 3 pound for pound. I mean, he's
yeah,
so good everywhere, so complete, so dominant in his division, and he has so many different ways to win. He's got really good power. He's got that elite level of grappling and jiu-jitsu.
yeah.
Yeah, I think he's right on the cusp as well of GOAT status for that division.
Wait, do you think
Um,
they're gonna update the pound for pound rankings for Islam? Do you think they'll change it like Islam and Topuria? And put Topuria number one in the pound for pound?
It's got to be Taporia number one. I do not see any reason why. I don't see
Yeah,
any reason. I mean, we called that about 6 months ago.
yeah,
I think there's no doubt. Like what you do to those three legends,
yeah,
who are all coming off. Outside of both the other ones were coming off wins. I mean, Max Holloway's coming off like the biggest win of his career.
yeah,
Um, yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think Pantoja should probably be in that top three. I'd
yeah,
put
for sure.
Pantoja right there.
I agree.
Um, yeah, and he might even, yeah, I don't even know if he should, maybe even jump over Makachev just for pound, just because he's winning in so many different ways.
Uh huh.
That's the thing. When I think about pound for pound, I think about how well rounded you are as well.
Yeah.
Um, the fight before that, fight of the night, hands down, Brandon Royval versus Joshua Van. Milo, what did you think of that fight?
That was amazing. I mean, I actually thought Royval was gonna win that fight, but I think I underestimated Vaughn like a lot. I was really surprised. He kind of looked like a mini Taporia, the way he's fighting, like, all like compact.
Yeah,
It was like
he does
impressive.
because yeah, him and Taporia, they both throw really short, tight hooks.
Yeah,
Like consistently with speed and power. Yeah,
yeah. I was
yeah.
really impressed.
So before Van knocked down Royval in the third round, who did you have winning?
Royval.
That's who I had. So yeah, I gave Royval the first, I gave Van the second, and then I had it very close in the third where I had Royval winning. I thought Van landed the more power shots, but I thought Royval had better volume while at the same time landing some power shots until he got dropped. I mean, Royval was right there.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, but sets up a great fight. I think Van and Pantoja's been cleaning out the division. Van gets his shot. He's only 23. He's getting better and better. And he stood in the fire, stood in the pocket. They
yeah,
both did. I mean, both of these guys, I'm sure they won, fight of the night. I mean, it was pretty obvious. There was really nothing as close as this.
yeah.
Before that, we had Beneil Dariush versus Renato Moicano. Not as exciting as some of the other ones. I thought it was interesting given their equal competitive nature. They're like in the same stage of their career, so forth. Um, Dariush gets it done. What were your thoughts on that fight?
It was kind of a sleeper. I don't know. I wasn't really impressed with either guy.
They were both so gassed at the
Yeah,
end. They looked absolutely terrible in terms of cardio. That's for sure. Dariush got back, got back into the win column, but yeah, I mean, neither guy will see a championship ever again.
yeah,
But yeah, I wasn't as exciting as some of the other fights, but I enjoyed it. Dude, the card opener, and we call this Payton Talbott because I think a lot of people were discounting Payton Talbott because he lost to Honey Barcelos, but Barcelos, one, he's good, and Payton Talbott is young and he's learning, and you're going to have fights that don't go your way. You're
Yeah.
going to come out a little bit of you're going to come out flat at times, and he's going to learn so much in between each and every fight, and it looks like he did learn a lot in this fight. Great fight. What are your thoughts on this fight?
I mean, he looked good everywhere. Like I was impressed with his like takedown defense, and he even had him on the ground. Peyton had him on the ground at the end, which was like cool to see. And I was Felipe, like he was like so bad at when it came to like actually taking him down. When he was on the ground, he was good, but I don't know, he was not as good as I thought. I feel like.
Yeah, it's interesting. Felipe was like he was a little bit quicker, um, and he didn't move in and out as much as he probably should have.
Yeah,
Talbot was a little more methodical, was a little more powerful. And you're right, his takedown defense was incredible. I think he probably has the best balance in the UFC. I
yeah,
mean, I've seen him in other fights where somebody, goes in for a single, they have him, and he's on one leg just hopping around, doesn't fall, and
yeah,
no matter how much pressure's on him. It's pretty amazing. Um, yeah, it was a fun fight. I could see this fight in like 3 years, both of these guys fighting again, both ranked maybe in the top 5 or maybe even a title eliminator or something like that. I think Felipe is going to be right there in the future. I think Talbot's, I think he has a legit top 5 potential. Yeah, I think he's a legit elite talent.
yeah. I agree.
So he called out Adrian Yanez. Who would you match him up with next? Ooh.
Um,
'Cause I don't
maybe
like that matchup. I mean, it's
I
a
don't
fun
even
matchup.
know. Probably somebody right on like the top 15.
Yeah. I'd rather have him right on the periphery of the top 15. Get an older vet with some name value,
Yeah,
and let me go to the rankings right now.
yeah.
Um, yeah, let me just take a quick look. I'm gonna go.
Maybe like, um, hmm.
God, I'd give him Kyler Phillips.
Yeah, I like that.
I think that's a really good, because that gets him in the rankings, and I think his skill
Or maybe
level's
like
right there.
Rob Font.
I think, yeah, that would be a good matchup as well. But I think, given that Font's 8, I would have him find a little behind on the rankings, give him an
Yeah,
opportunity to move up for multiple fights. But yeah, I mean, Rob Font's like the type of name that I was saying. Get him an older vet
yeah,
again, or Kyler Phillips. I think that's good. I think he's ready for. I think he's ready for the rankings. I think he's good. I'd rather see. I think Adrian Yanez has a lot of talent. I'd like to see him work his way into the rankings as well. I think
yeah.
he is a top 15 fighter. So I don't want to see those two guys fight yet. Um, Before that, oh my goodness, the prelim, the top prelim, Gregory Rodriguez versus Jack Hermanson. Tell me about that. What did you think?
Dude, that knockout was brutal. That was one of like the most brutal knockouts I've ever seen. Like the way that
Yeah,
he
that was
finished,
scary.
really pushed, like punched his head on the ground. That was brutal.
Yeah, I mean, Herb Dean should be fired for that because he came in and he's like trying to break it in, but you got to kind of dive in there. And if you're at a stage in your officiating career where you just don't have the quickness to be able to get in there right away, you shouldn't be in these fights because I
Yeah,
think he took a lot of unnecessary damage. And once he went down because he got knocked out clean, and then he hit his head on the canvas, Herb Dean needed to get in there much more quickly than that. And
yeah.
that was absolutely that was that was horrible to see. What would you do with Gregory Rodriguez?
I would just have as like a gatekeeper for maybe
Top
like
15
yeah,
gatekeeper.
like up and
Yeah,
coming people.
it's interesting because I thought he was when he first came in the UFC. I thought he would be a lot better, but he gets hit a lot, and I
Yeah,
think a younger Jack Hermanson beats him.
yeah. I agree.
So I mean, he is elite. He is, he is. I'm not elite. I'm sorry. He's in a legitimate, maybe top 10 periphery guy, but yeah, I don't think he's ever going to be, that top,
Yeah,
that top 10 guy. And let me just bring something up real quickly. Who was before that? I'm drawing a blank.
it was Hader Amil versus
Oh,
Jose
Hyder Emil versus
Jose Miguel
Jose Delgado, that knee right up the middle. I mean, just brutal. Again, another good fight, or exciting finish, I should say. And who was before that?
Tracy Cortez versus Viviane Arijo.
And I stepped out during that one. We
I
predicted
watched
Tracy.
that one.
Oh, tell me your thoughts.
Tracy actually looked pretty good on the she looked really good on the ground. She dominated the whole fight. But yeah, it was kind of boring, but yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I thought she would have that advantage in the stand up. So it's cool to hear that she did well on the ground as well. We both picked her,
Yeah.
and I thought yeah, I thought her speed, that she would win on speed and volume. So she did that with the ground. Let's see. All right, before that, this is who I've called on every show that we've done that he's fought. I call him the best fighter in the UFC in the first round, and that's Terrence McKinney, and he did not disappoint.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! Did you see how quick he
Submitted him.
yeah, and how quickly he moved around? Like that was just flawless. 55 seconds.
Yeah, that
I
was
think
insane.
Yeah, I think he's legit. I think he's good. I think he's a top 15 fighter. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I just think he's got to get the right opponents, and he's still young. He's like 29, 30. He's still young. He's still learning, and it just shows like here's a guy with one punch knockout power, has exceptional grappling as well. Yeah, and I picked, this was like my lock of the night outside of the Jacoby Smith because he was like a minus 2,500 favorite. You can't really call lock of the night, but
Yeah.
I think McKinney was only like a minus 150 or something like that, and I'm like McKinney is going to absolutely destroy him, and he did. Um, all right. Before that, Jacoby Smith versus Nico Price. What were your thoughts on this? Yeah, he's one of those savvy vets that even though his chin is gone, knows how to kind of take a beating, stay alive a little bit, and kind of look to throw something up. Jacoby Smith looked good in times. One of the problems, I think he needs to move up a weight division. He gassed way too early. He was done at the end of the first round, and if he's cutting so much weight where he's that tired, it's going to just limit his success. He's such an elite level athlete. He is a legitimate prospect, and I want to see where he goes. I would probably have him move up a division. What do you think? Yeah, and it's like, dude, and against a washed up Nico Price, this should have been an easy. There shouldn't have been a struggle. And not that there was much of a struggle. He dominated, but I think Nico Price landed a couple. I mean, he was just so tired, and yeah, that's not going to go. That's not going to take you far in the UFC, but he is absolutely loaded with talent. I am really excited to see where he goes from here, but I do hope he moves up to a different weight class. And the opener, Janata Denise versus Alvin Hines. This was kind of a fun fight for two big dudes, that are kind of like lower level heavyweights. Hines showed a lot of heart, just kept moving forward. But yeah, Denise was a little too much for him. And Hines, I thought, had an opportunity to put him out in the last round until he eye poked him because Denise was gassed. He was done, and I thought Hines was going to finish him probably in the next minute. And that eye poke allowed Denise to, kind of regain his composure, get a little bit of air in his lungs, and survive. What were your thoughts? Yeah, this was probably the weakest fight of the entire card. But for two, a low level high heavyweights, I thought it was, it did better than what we've seen at other times when you get two low ranked heavyweights or not non ranked heavyweights. So there we have it. That was a quick breakdown. Yeah, incredible fight card. I give it an A. Milo, yeah, you give it an A as well. Anything else before we go? Any last word? We're out.